Basically, we are going to give you the secrets behind 10x. We have run hundreds of AI audits and built hundreds of roadmaps for companies, how we turn all of this unstructured but valuable data into an AI report using Claude Code, how we then take that report and turn it into a 12-month step-by-step roadmap with AI use cases using the Notion MCP. Arman, you ready to do this thing?
Let's do it.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Human in the Loop by 10x. Human in the Loop is the most actionable AI show on the internet. I'm one of your hosts, Alex Lieberman, co-founder and managing partner at 10x, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-founder and managing partner, Arman Hazarkani. And we have an amazing episode in store for today. Basically, we are going to give you the secrets behind 10x. We have run hundreds of AI audits and built hundreds of roadmaps for companies who are looking to transform their business with AI. And we are going to take you through our exact process. So Arman, if people watch until the end of this episode, what can they expect specifically to get from us?
You will have the roadmap for how to create your AI strategy or your AI roadmap in your business. We will be connecting basically everything that you hear online about AI, the lift that people are getting, all of the buzz will become practical by the end of this.
Yep. So we are going to take you through everything from how we collect information from clients. So how we run our surveys of employees, how we do stakeholder interviews and the specific questions that we ask, how we turn all of this unstructured but valuable data into an AI report using Claude Code, how we then take that report and turn it into a 12-month step-by-step roadmap with AI use cases using the Notion MCP. We are going to take you through all of it if you stay to the end of the episode. Also, just as a heads up, if you end up watching all of this and you're like, damn, this feels like a lot of work. It is, but it's worth it. If you ever feel like you want 10x's support to help with these audits, we do complimentary AI audits and build 12-month roadmaps for you for free. Not for every company, but we try to help as many as we can. So if you're interested, go to 10x.co/get-started. We'll throw the link in the chat and we'll try to help as many companies as we can. Arman, you ready to do this thing?
Let's do it.
Okay, guys, quick break. I know this is a ton. We're taking you through the step-by-step process for how to set your company's 12-month AI roadmap. If you want all of this so you don't have to take notes, plus more information that Arman and I added after the episode, go to the link in the description below, and it takes you through the whole playbook we use at our company for hundreds of other businesses. Okay, so I'm going to kind of take us through the first part relatively quickly because I feel like so much of the value of this process is in the analysis of information and then deciding how to build out your AI transformation roadmap. But the first step in this entire process is what we call problem mining. And problem mining is very simply, how do you identify all of the bottlenecks, resource constraints, and problems within a business that are holding them back from hitting their goals so that we understand where AI can and can't be used to unlock value and unstick these bottlenecks. And so there are basically three main ways we identify opportunities for a business. First is we do a ton of research around that business's industry and the specific functions within that business. The second is we run a employee-wide survey. So as many employees as are willing to fill out this AI readiness survey, we have them fill it out. And the third is we run stakeholder interviews. Half of our interviews are with executives in a company, and then the other half are with people who filled out the survey who we think have identified specific problems where there could be a lot of value to unlock. So the first thing I'm going to do is just literally show you our exact survey that we use. You can steal it if you want. You can take all the questions, but we've spent a lot of time thinking through what are the questions we should be asking executives and employees in this survey to reveal the biggest problems and bottlenecks. Then we'll go through the stakeholder interviews, and then we'll start going through the actual process of working up the AI transformation report. So let me share my screen and let me know if you all can see it. Dun, dun, dun. Wow. Okay, screen. 10x survey. Can you guys see this?
Yep.
Awesome. So basically, this is the survey that we sent to every company. And our goal in doing an AI survey and how you should think about it you are like the AI transformation champion within your business, is you want to collect as much information from people as possible. So you have enough surface area for identifying problems and bottlenecks and annoyances. But you have to expect that people will only spend maximum 15 minutes filling this thing out. And so you would need to make sure every question packs a punch. So we asked like the obvious questions, which I'm going to skip through. But then the most important questions that we ask are actually, how long have you been with the company? There's a very specific reason that we ask this question. And the reason we ask this question is because it is really important when you are doing AI transformation in your business. You need not only executive level champions who are going to drive forward AI in your company. And if you don't have that, then honestly, I wouldn't even start with this whole transformation plan, because you need exec buy-in. But beyond that, you want, whether it's mid-level managers or rank and file folks who have been in the company for a long time, who have a ton of social currency they've built up in the business. And you need these people to champion transformation in your business as well. The other questions we ask people are, what are your main weekly tasks and responsibilities? We have people literally line by line write, how do they spend their time in their day or their week? The reason for this is, we all, are spending a lot of time in our jobs in execution mode. And it is a new muscle for people to step back and actually be introspective and ask themselves, what are the tasks that I actually do in my day? And what are the tasks that are worthy of my time? And what are the tasks that are not worthy of my time? So a lot of this survey is actually training people to kind of step above or step out of the mud of their work and ask themselves, are they spending their time in alignment with how they think they should spend it? Then we ask people, what percentage of your weekly tasks are repetitive versus novel or creative? Which tasks do you enjoy most versus which do you find most frustrating? And then we basically ask this next series of questions twice. We ask, what is your most inefficient or time consuming task? Explain it and explain why it is inefficient. And then this goes to the question that someone was asking around ROI. We always ask people, if this inefficiency were solved immediately, what specific benefit would you or the company experience? And we give the example of, you should quantify it by time or dollars. And then we ask people, have you already attempted to solve this inefficiency? If yes, what did you try and why didn't it fully solve the problem? And so it gives us a sense of like, how big is this problem? What would the ROI be if we solved it? And is there anything we should know about how it's kind of been attempted to be solved that didn't work out, so that we don't have to make the same mistake twice? We asked that set of questions twice. So our goal in this survey is to basically learn from every employee, what are the two most annoying, time-consuming rote tasks in your job that if we were to AIify or automate would make you way happier in your job and also higher leverage? So this is how we run the survey. Arman, anything you want to share about this survey process before we talk about the stakeholder interviews?
Yeah, one thing that I think is interesting that we should call out is, can you actually pull it back up?
Yeah.
I was thinking through this as you were going through it. I don't think the word AI is mentioned in a single question. Like, could you just do like a Command F and make sure of that? Like,
let's see. So AI survey. I think the only place that you ask is, how often do you use it? And then we may
just to get a baseline.
Yes. And then which specific tools do you use, and what excites you most about it in your industry or work?
Yeah. And I think it's like, the reason why I highlight that is because something that really matters is making sure that we're not just trying to slap AI on something for the sake of doing that. Like, in order to get the buy-in that's necessary for this work, in order to get people excited, in order to make it all worth it, you have to tie it to the things that matter. And that's why a lot of the questions are around like, what are you doing that's really annoying and taking a lot of your time? And if we were to solve this problem, what is the lift you would get? This is a traditional management consulting style survey. This exact same thing could work for an AI agency, for a traditional technology agency, for any type of external consultant, or in this case, internal consultant. I think that's really important to highlight.
And to that point, like, while we are asking these problems, to be able to look through the lens of AI, this type of questioning literally is just a line of questioning for finding problems in a business. And actually, I think before even going to the stakeholder interviews, I was jotting down like, what are some of the biggest lessons that we have had in running these audits for companies and doing a bunch of these surveys and interviews? Like, what are the recurring patterns? I'm going to call out a few, Arman, but I'm curious to hear if you have any thoughts as well.
Yeah.
So the first, and this speaks to your exact point, is when we start surveying people or we get people on a stakeholder interview, people immediately jump to brainstorming AI solutions. They're like, I want this AI use case. I want this AI use case. And I feel like so much of the work we do is pushing people to talk about problems, because at the end of the day, AI is valuable, but it also does not solve every problem. And at the end of the day, AI is just a tool for problem solving. And so I think people are so fixated on this technology that they feel like AI is a hammer and every problem is a nail, but that is just not the case. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's both a strength and a weakness. Like, it's a strength because ultimately that's what's getting us to even have the conversation, right? Like, AI is providing the activation energy to get people to think about how they can make their company more efficient or do their work better. And that's really good. But in a lot of the questions that we have, and we'll talk about this in the survey, and a lot of the questions that we ask or in the interviews, we're asking, hey, forget about AI. Like, stop thinking about AI. Let's just go back to, what are your goals? What are you thinking about day to day? And we really try and get the AI part out of their minds and just get back to brass tacks. What are you thinking about this morning? What keeps you up at night about work? What are your goals and what's keeping you from those goals? And then it's our job as the AI experts to overlay AI as a solution. And what's funny is that a lot of those AI solutions are actually, it's like a 10-step process, and 9 out of the 10 steps are just traditional code or technology. And maybe one of the steps is AI. And again, that's why it's important to think about things outside of AI.
Okay. So we have the survey. Let's just say we've surveyed a company. We've gotten 50 responses. So this sits in like a big CSV file for us. We do it in Notion, but companies can do it kind of at Google Sheets, wherever. So we have these survey responses. At the same time, at 10X, we start setting up these stakeholder interviews. And depending on if it's a free or a paid diagnostic, we'll either do 5 or 6 of these, or we'll literally do dozens of them and talk to people throughout the company. I feel like you have gotten down a really good process for getting as much value out of these stakeholder interviews in 30 minutes as humanly possible. Talk through your method for running these interviews with executives or people. What are the questions you love asking, and why do you think they're so helpful in pulling out problems and challenges?
Yeah. So I think what's really important is to get people to open up and to get people to speak very honestly. And so I actually start every interview with 3 questions. I always start by asking, 1, what do you do? What is your role? Right? Very simple. But then, what are you excited about with AI, and what are you skeptical about with AI? And that always gets people to open up about, hey, I'm actually worried about the fact that, like, I think implementing AI might make people in the organization focus on less of the details. Or I've had somebody tell me that they were worried about the, like, I don't know, some job loss concern or something like that, right? What that allows us to do is it sets the foundation of the fact that, like, listen, I'm here to listen to you, whether you're telling me a concern or if you're telling me something you're excited about with AI. And I think doing that in your own org also opens up the conversation. And if people think that you're just there to be the AI maximalist and you're just going to throw AI everywhere, they're going to be less likely to engage. And that's why that question is really important, to get people to really open up to the fact that we're not just going to use AI for the sake of it. And again, I'm going to keep saying that, and asking people, what are you skeptical about, has shown to be a really good way to show them that you as well know that there are limitations to the technology. But I know you always ask about the day to day, like you get really in the nitty gritty. What are the questions that you ask to get there?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think I was saying this before, but I think people don't have a self-awareness of how they spend their time. People just do their daily work. They clock in, they clock out, they go home, and they don't really have an awareness of how would they like to spend their time versus how are they spending their time. So the thing I literally ask people is, I say, from the second you get into your office to the second you leave your office and go home, walk me through every task you've done. And I will actually have people bring up their calendar and take me through meeting invite by meeting invite by deep work time by deep work time to literally take me through what they did. And part of that exercise is for them to actually understand for themselves how they spend their time for the first time. But I think what it also reveals to me, what I'm basically looking for, what are the tasks that they are not uniquely qualified to do, that they're probably overpaid to do and could either be automated out or AI can support with. And then once I hear one or two of these, then I start asking about these tasks. I ask how long they spend on them. If they could wave a magic wand, would they be doing the task? If not, how would they think about getting rid of the task? And so that is my goal, is like, I work best in finding problems when I truly have a visual of someone's day. And so I try to have someone literally visualize their day for me.
So follow-up question on that. This is something that I struggle with when I'm doing these interviews to like, there's two potential concerns with that conversation. One is like Johnny from accounting who just hates sending out invoices or something, like, but Johnny needs to keep doing that and maybe not sending invoices. But how do you discern between something that's just annoying versus something that hits the P&L? And second is how do you discern between a problem that one person is facing versus a problem that impacts 30% of the org and will actually impact EBITDA?
Yeah, I think one of the things is the conversations with rank and file employees give me insight into processes that can be like fixed through technology or revamped through technology. The reason to me conversations with executives are so important is because that's kind of our compass to point us towards what are directionally the biggest opportunities in the business. And this is why in the stakeholder interviews, we always ask, if you could point to what one function in the business, whether it's sales, marketing, product engineering, ops, et cetera, that you feel is most holding the company back right now, what would that function be? The idea is if I can have a sense of what function is most inefficient, and then I can talk to people in that function and understand the most inefficient part of their work, I can pair these things together to understand where do we start in the area of the business that is most holding the business back. Mm-hmm. I guess I want to move forward. So like we've talked about the survey for, again, these stakeholder interviews, we run them for 30 minutes. For the executive side of the house, we're trying to understand from people, what are the biggest goals of the company moving forward? What are the biggest roadblocks holding the company back? What are the biggest cost centers in the business? What are the biggest revenue drivers in the business? What's the breakdown of your employee base by function? On the other side, with rank and file employees, we're just trying to understand their actual processes deeply. Okay, so we've done the survey. Ideally, we have at least a few dozen responses. We've done the calls. We've done at least 6 calls. We've done as many as 20 calls for clients. We have all this information. What do we do now? What is our process for turning this into an actual AI report?
Yeah. One thing I want to call out before that is taking notes. This like seems obvious, but like if you miss one meeting of taking notes or using an AI note taker or something, you lose so much information. Do you do these interviews in person or online? Joseph, this is a good question. Like it's actually better online because you can use an AI note taker to basically grab all the information. So how about, should we share screen and walk people through Claude Code synthesis? Or do you want to go through steps before that?
No, I think you just go through it. I think people are going to love this. So basically what Arman's going to take you all through is how we take all this information that we've just gathered from folks in the business, and then with really smart prompting and the power of Claude Code, turning it into a report that starts to point you in the right direction of what transformation opportunities look like for the business. So yeah, go ahead.
Awesome. Okay. So I'm going to do a quick review. Cool. Okay. So we put together this like data source. So I'm going to go through each of these docs. Alex, do you mind voicing over the doc and kind of what each one of them is?
Yeah, 100%.
This is the, here, I can actually open it in a file locally because it's
Ye-
not.
Yeah. So basically, just so you guys all know, like we created dummy data here. So we weren't sharing up any of our clients' actual data. So the process was ran a deep research report that created a fake company in, health tech, and it broke down what the company does, the industry, the revenue. So this is $100 million a year Series C business, has 250 employees. It broke down how many team members per function of the business. And then it created titles and names of people in the business that we should interview and survey. And so then we use that deep research report to then say, create meeting transcripts with these 6 people. And for the other 25 people you provided, have them fill out this survey with the exact questions that we just showed you all. So what you're looking at now, this is the original deep research report that goes down and explains what this business is, the industry it's in, what the team makeup is, et cetera. And the other things that you'll see Arman go through will be the survey responses from employees. And it'll also be a report we ran of what are common AI use cases that other players in this industry are using that potentially this client should be thinking about as well.
Cool. So all of that information is in here. So I'm going to use a tool called Claude Code, just to kind of take a step back, and we've done events about what Claude Code is, but just to explain it, Claude Code is like you can imagine it like a ChatGPT agent for software engineers. But I kind of consider myself to I kind of want to be like Robin Hood, not the trading app, but like the original, like takes money from the rich and gives it to the poor, where software engineers have the best tools on the market right now. And I want to take those tools and give them to everyone else. And so Claude Code is, yes, built for software engineers, but it is so immensely powerful that I'm on a mission to put it in every one of your hands, even if you're not a software engineer. So I'm seeing somebody works in IB and uses Claude Code all the time. This is my mission, is to make sure that everyone's doing that. So the way that Claude Code works, what you're looking at right now is a software called Visual Studio Code. So this is basically how we edit. This is how you like edit code. So you can open up new files, and you could say hi.txt. You can come in here and you can just type, right? That's all this software is. Then down here, we have the terminal, which is this is how you can communicate directly with your computer. And in order to spin up Claude Code, you just type in Claude and it creates it. So Claude Code can basically read all these files. And you can like chat with it. You can tell it to do stuff. So you can say, please read Insight Care, responses and give me a summary of people of, just give me a summary. So you can tell it to do this, and it kind of thinks. You can escape if you want to kill it, but it tells you, hey, I'm going to read and summarize the data. It reads it. It's a gigantic file, and so it's not able to do it, but it's going to kind of chop it up now over time. So we might see it. See, now it's kind of pulling each one of these things. I'll let it go for 2 more seconds. And if it doesn't do anything interesting, I'm going to rip it. Cool. Okay, good. So it asks me, do you want to proceed? I say yes. It's reading the files. I might just skip this. Alex, what do you think? The summary.
I think you can skip it and maybe go into like, what is the process for actually turning it into the report?
Yeah. So internally, what we do is we'll obviously pour over all these things. We'll read all of them. We'll look at the notes, everything like that. In this case, though, I'm going to show you how I would do it with just Claude Code. So I'm going to. So this is important to do this. So I need to let it go a little bit longer. But I'm going to spin up another terminal as this is going, and I'm going to get it going on the next thing. So as this one is running, I'm just going to, yes. I'm going to tell it to please, read through, or you are an expert consultant. I'm basically going to have it be my consultant. You're an expert consultant, and I'd like you to generate a simple list of recommendations for this company. To do so, please go through the documents in this file and make a list of 10 recommendations on how they can apply AI in their business. And then I would kick that off. I'm going to keep this one going. Matt Thompson's recommending dangerously skip permissions. And Alex, feel free to jump in here if you want to add anything.
No, you're rocking it. It's great.
Cool. Okay, so it's reading all these different files. Cool. Okay, so this one's done. So it says all 25. So literally I have one agent here doing work and I have another agent here. So this one says all 25 respondents suggested governed answers bank, in-product assistant for customers, semantic layer for consistent metric definitions and faster reporting. And then the responses show remarkably consistent formatting and phrasing, with each person identifying themselves. Well, that's because it was written by AI. But it's good that we're able to see the different suggestions. Okay. So the reason why I wanted this agent to basically go through all the survey responses is because I wanted it to, like, in giving me a summary, this agent loaded all of the survey responses into its context. So now, like, in short-term memory, if you will, this agent right now has all of that information loaded up. And so I'm going to ask it, based on all of these survey responses, I'd like you to recommend up to 10 ideas of how we can implement AI in this business. Focus on solving the problems at hand. Put the ideas in a new file called surveyrecs.md. Each rec should have a title, a description, a investment, a reward or an ROI, and and that's it. Let's just keep it there. Cool. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, again, based on these survey results, the AI is basically going to give me recommendations. And so what I would invite everybody to do is, like, you can make this template, like this prompt, way, way, way better. So for example, you could have it already have recommendations from a different, from another report that you've already ran. And you can give it examples of how to structure this. You can, have it do deep research on what other competitors are doing. You can have it do parallel research. You can really mix this up. And I would invite everybody to, I never one-shot stuff. I never run it once and accept the response. I'll run this 4, 5, 6, 7 times from scratch, trying different methods, trying different prompts. Let me try and get an internet researcher to do work here. And then let me try and share a template there until you can get the best results. And then over here, let's see what happens. So, okay, so this did a good summary, but I don't want to read all that. So I'm going to say, please put this into a file, into a new markdown file. Cool. Alex, what are some of the questions in the chat, if any?
Yep. So we have, what is your unfair advantage here if you're using off-the-shelf things like ChatGPT research and Claude prompting and data source? Like, what does advantage look like now if basically you can just prompt anything to create an AI report? What's your view on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like, what we're trying to do here is basically help everybody get started with AI. What I think is tough is that, like, AI is a really, really fast changing technology, and like industry, and keeping up to date with what's happening and having opinions on where things are going is really tough. So for example, our unfair advantage is our talent. Like our unfair advantage is that our team is all former founders and software engineers and folks who understand the intersection of not only technology and AI, but also business. And they understand how AI will impact business, and they understand the goals of the business, and they understand what AI might look like in a year and what it might definitely not look like in a year. And so the recommendations that you make, by like the recommendations that people like that are able to make based on their experience and knowledge and expertise is going to be a bit more acute. So I think that's certainly an advantage. But the point is that we think that folks can still get use out of a workflow like what we're showing here with Claude Code. Especially, we talk to folks all the time who don't know where to start. And I think this is a really good place to start. Yeah, I'll pause there. What else, Alex? Okay, I'm going to keep going here, but if you have any questions, feel free to interrupt me. So, okay, let's see. So based on the responses from 25 team members across all departments, Intelligent Hospital Integration Mapper. So this made this recommendation. We have a description here of the idea. We have an investment. So this is saying that's going to be pretty expensive. We have ROI. That's really good. We have another idea. Okay, so this is good. These are some number of ideas. So let's do this. I want to, I really like using Notion to put these reports together. So I'm actually going to use the Notion MCP to load this information into a Notion database. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, I want to create a Notion database. And I'm actually going to turn on plan mode because I don't want this to actually do anything yet. So to do plan mode, you just click Shift Tab, and then it won't do anything. It just thinks and it talks to you before it'll actually execute. So I want to create a Notion database. Please recommend what columns we should have. I absolutely want start date and end date for any of the projects, but title, lift, ROI, etc. will also be important. Cool. So it's going to think. So Mark is asking a question, what does Notion give you that you wouldn't get otherwise? Honestly, for us, I just like Notion because it gives us different views of, you can use it as a checklist, or you can see a different view of like a Gantt chart. You can see a calendar chart. So I really like that part of it. But honestly, the reason why I'm showing the Notion MCP is really just to illustrate the fact that I'm using Claude Code as a teammate, and then I'm going to move this into a tool that we use with our team. And so that's really why I'm using Notion. So let's see. This is way too many columns. So I'm going to say, cut this in half at least. I don't want it to be that complicated. Okay. And plan mode is still on, so it's going to think. So it's going to basically, it's not going to do anything yet. It's still just going to think. And let's make sure my MCP is turned on. So MCP, well, I guess it's thinking. Here, I can do that after. If you know how to tell someone else in specific detail what you need done, then give it feedback. You can increase the cycle with Claude. That's what makes the Claude Code experience an advantage. I absolutely agree. Gordon Patrick, I am with you. Okay. Oh, here we go. We got Claude Code's new multiple choice feature, which I do not like. Just make the recommendation. Please stop and just make the rec. Oh my God, please stop and make the rec. Submit answers. Alex, did you know about that new multiple choice feature?
I did not.
Yeah, they're getting a little cutesy with their features.
Okay, guys, quick break. I know this is a lot. We are taking you step by step for setting your company's 12-month AI transformation roadmap. You can obviously take this episode and implement it yourself in your business. But if you want some extra support, as well as all of the lessons we have learned from doing this for hundreds of companies, check out the link in the description below, and we will run your company's AI audit and set your 12-month roadmap. Also, Arman, someone asked a question. They were like, Julian, I don't know if you saw this mentioned, that change management, does that become the unfair advantage moving forward? What's your thought on that? And just like the whole change management piece.
So how do you okay. Yeah. So I think that goes into like for every one of these, for every one of these recommendations, we're basically measuring ROI, and ROI has two parts. It has the I and it has the R, right? It has the investment, it has the return. I think that the change management is encapsulated with each one of these recommendations, and it's encapsulated and it's dependent on the organization. So for example, implementing ChatGPT for some companies is as simple as like opening up your credit card and subscribing, $25 a month. But for some companies, it's like a many months long endeavor to get legal on board and to get IT on board and to get XYZ running. Like for some companies, the change management required to get even ChatGPT ready to go is incredibly difficult. And so understanding those things is absolutely an input to understanding the investment required for each of these things, because investment is not just dollars and cents. But the return is still going to be the same. So that's an incredibly important part of this.
Yeah. And one thing I would just add is, from my vantage point, like the thing that's going to, especially at the enterprise level, the thing that's going to make AI transformation so difficult is like taking out even the change management piece, take out the technology piece. It's literally just like, it is just bureaucracy, and how bureaucracy is going to make it so incredibly slow and painful to get anything done in kind of crossing the chasm of going from AI absent to AI native. The other thing we always talk about, and I just want to make, I think it's a really good framing as we're building this report, and ultimately we're going to talk through what the roadmap looks like, is we think about phasing in AI to a business in kind of 4 levels. Level 1 is single player tools. Level 2 is single player processes. Level 3 is multi-player single function processes, and I'll explain each of these. And the fourth one is multi-player multi-function processes. So single player tools is get everyone ChatGPT, get them ChatGPT 5 Pro, the $200 a month plan. It's just the most powerful models. And like that is probably the highest leverage thing you can do for your company. Second is like another example of single player tools is like get people Claude Code, or get engineers Codex, or get engineers the best tooling to give themselves leverage. Then single player processes are, what are single processes that one person is doing in a company. So you can think about like what your accounts receivables person is doing as it relates to billing and reminding people who haven't paid you. They're controlling the whole process. And how do you think about rebuilding a process just for that person? And the reason that comes like next in the ladder is because you only have to worry about change management for one person. Then the next step is like multiplayer single function. So how do you think about, I don't know, let's just say it's in your sales org, thinking about what your entire sales pipeline process is, from outreach to lead management to all the other sales ops things. That is going to involve multiple people, from your sellers, your SDRs, your account managers, your senior AEs, etc. But it is all contained within the go-to-market or sales org. And so it's a little bit easier than having to then start thinking about the different cultures and different openness to AI across functions in the business. And that is why multiplayer, multifunction is the hardest thing for companies to do. Very few companies, I don't know if I've seen any companies do this effectively, because you have to rebuild processes from scratch. You have to really re-architect and think about, where are humans needed? Where's AI needed? Where's deterministic software needed? Then let's also do change management for not just someone in a single function, but for multiple functions where the openness to using AI can look totally different.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm going to bring us here. I want to show you. So this says that it's done. I'm going to show you Notion. So I basically told it, hey, there's this Insight Care doc that I had just made, put a database in there, and it did that. So it created this entire thing from scratch. It put the name, the 3-year ROI, it put the description. Let's space that out. Put the whole description. I put the investment cost, the owner, priority, start date. So I want to get it to create a timeline here because like I really, really like this. Where is it? I like this view. You can't see it right now. So I want to have the start date should be that and then end date. So I want this to look beautiful. So I'm going to go back in here and I'm going to show Claude Code doing this for me. So I'm going to tell Claude Code 2 things. So I'm going to get this agent doing one thing. I'm going to get this agent doing another thing. So I'm going to say, that looks great. Now, please recommend a timeline. I want to kick this off in 2026. So please add start and end dates to each row. In so doing, please take into account the capacity and budget constraints and or not constraints, but like investments for each project and space things out appropriately. Cool. So I'm going to get that going. And then over here, I basically want, like, all we saw was that database. I want the rest of the document to be filled in. And so I want, so please, or if you look at Notion, you'll see a page called, what is it called? Insight Care. In that, we have a database of recommendations. Oh, okay. Killing that. Now, I want to, or please look at that page. Now, I'm going to say yes. Now, I want to fill out the rest of that page with the remainder of the report. Sections that I want include 1, abstract. 2, I want company background. 3, I want company goals. 4, recommendations. 5, I know, Alex, what else do we typically put? Learning. Key quotes.
Biggest challenges. AI readiness scorecard. And then, use cases and prioritize by some combination of effort, ROI, and usually like a short description of what the solution is.
Okay. And then I'm going to add a conclusion at the end. That's going to be section.
Cool. And once you start running that, we have a number of questions.
Okay, let me show. Okay, actually, let's do the questions while that's running. What's up?
Okay, perfect. So I'll just read a few to you. So from Garrett said, do you use prompt libraries or try to standardize the steps you take in Claude Code when building these reports? Does that help performance and how do you evaluate?
So do I use prompts and then what about the evaluation? Sorry.
Does that help performance? So it sounds like by using prompt templates and standardizing the steps you take in Claude Code, does that help performance and how do you evaluate?
Yeah. So anytime I'm doing anything in Claude Code with AI, anything that requires a prompt, I am trying things many, 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 many times in a row. If I was doing this in-house, I would run it once. And then I would try, okay, like I see Kevin's asking about sub-agents. I would try it with sub-agents. I would try it like, hey, try running sub-agents that are each doing web research to see best practices about these recommendations. I would say, think longer. I would try many, many different things. And each one of those tries is a prompt. And I'm storing each of these prompts. And really what I'm running evals, but for myself. And in doing this, I don't think about prompts. I think about workflows and I think about processes. And so if you here on the left, this agent run, there were 4 or 5 or 6 prompts in that. I would store each of those. Same thing on the right. I would store each of the prompts for the agent on the right. And then I would tweak them. I would run it again, see the output. I would tweak it, run it again, see the output. And I absolutely store these things and I'm always improving on them. And I have a huge prompt database for myself internally. And I actually used to be a hater of prompt libraries because I thought that all prompts are the same. And if you're good at communication, you'll be good at prompting. But the proof is in the pudding. I think the prompting absolutely is important, and storing these things is super, super key.
A few other questions. Is this whole process, is it only using context within the Claude Code project?
So it's using context within the Claude Code project, yes. But Claude Code, like all LLMs, it is trained on so much information. So it's pulling from those for sure. You can also pull from the internet. So it can do internet search. But it is right now, the only context that we've connected is basically these files here on the left.
Yep. 2 more quick questions. Is there a benefit of doing this sort of research in Claude Code versus Notion's native AI tool?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the Claude Code is the most powerful agent loop that exists. And it's honestly not even close. The difference is, I saw a question here about hallucination. I posted about this on Twitter and LinkedIn today. There are a lot of people who've reverse engineered Claude Code and they've dug really, really deep into how it works. When you ask a question on ChatGPT or when you ask a question on Notion's AI or most AI tools, you ask a question, it responds. Claude is a sea of agents. When you ask a question, it's not one person answering. It spawns up agents for you without even asking. Each one of these lines is an agent that did something and responded back. It's just so immensely powerful that I only use this, honestly.
Yep. And one other question from Kevin. Kevin said, Arman, in previous webinars, you would create a prompt that would have sub-agents running different processes. Here, you're using 2 terminal windows to run prompts in parallel, aka another form of sub-agents. Is there one that tends to be more efficient?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Sub-agents. So if you think about a sub-agent as an employee, which I do think about that, right? Then what you're doing, so you could ask Claude Code a question and tell it to spin up sub-agents. What happens is you ask it a question. It says, okay, I'm going to do step 1, and then I'm going to pass step 2 off to another agent, which is basically like an employee. And then they're going to come back to me. And then I'm going to move on to step 4, 5, 6, whatever. That agent that does that task learns a lot by doing that task. Its context becomes very, very rich in doing that task. And what it responds with sometimes is just not enough. And so I will often, when I'm spinning up sub-agents in Claude Code, I'll tell the sub-agents to each create a very, very in-depth markdown file with its context and everything that it learned. In this case, for 2 reasons I did this. One is that it just presents better for this to have 2 different kind of use cases going in parallel. But also I wanted to load up the context for each of these things. And I didn't want it to snip the context when it came back to the parent agent, if that makes sense.
Yep, that makes total sense. One other question before we finish things out with the roadmap is you keep saying agent loop, and I don't think everyone knows what that means. When you say Claude Code offers the most powerful agent loop, simply put, what is an agent loop?
Yeah. So think about any of these chat-based AI tools as an AI, as a friend that you send a text. If I send a text to my friend, what are they doing before they respond? With ChatGPT, if I send a text to ChatGPT, if I go to chatgpt.com and I send a message, it just runs my information through one large language model and responds. Claude Code, it runs it through one model, and that model decides what it should do next. Then that model creates a plan, and then that feeds the plan to the next model, and that model does each one of the steps in the plan. Sometimes it spins up separate agents to run different models. And so the agent loop is what every single thing that happens from the time that I ask a question to the time that it responds to my question. All of those things, that's the agent loop. Because if you think about it, I ask a question, it does those things, and then it responds. And then I ask another question, it does those things, and then it responds. So that is a loop. That's why it's called the agent loop.
Love it. Okay, we have 5 minutes left. Can you bring us home?
I'm going to bring us home. So this is still running. When we go to Notion, I'm going to come back to Insight Care. So I'm going to make this, so we click in here and we see that it added start dates and it added end dates. And so we can go to the timeline and it's November, but I told it that I want it to start in January. So starting in January, we have a Gantt chart. So we see the Smart Meeting Assistant item tracker is going to start at the same time as the governed knowledge base. Then after this one, we're going to start the Intelligent CRM auto enrichment, and they're going to work in parallel. We're going to have a month or a week off until we get the automated report generation system. And then once this project ends, we're going to do customer success. So it's really sequencing these things remarkably well. This is an incredible project plan. And what you could do if you want to scrutinize is you can come in here, you can edit these things, you can make sure that if you want to change, like let's say this is actually a really high lift, or hey, this is actually a medium lift. You can change it here, and then you can go tell Claude Code, hey, for recommendation number 2, I changed that to be a lighter lift. And I'd like you to update the timeline or update the plan. And it'll go ahead and do that. Lastly, this other agent is still filling in the rest of the doc. And so as soon as it's done, we'll see it. But I think we can, it might take a moment. So I think we can wrap up and then I can send it to folks after.
And so I think if people are wondering, like, I think one question in my head is like, how can you trust how accurate the use cases are that were in terms of the amount of lift that's necessary, right? It assumes this timeline based on all these assumptions of how long it will actually take, and it kind of abstracts it to low, medium, high lift. Let's just say you're worried it's not super accurate and you want to make sure the timeline is perfectly accurate. What would be the next step to make sure this is super precise so that 12-month roadmap, you feel a high degree of confidence that the beginning and end dates for each of these use cases, you have, confidence within a margin of error of 10% in timeline of?
For the work or for which part?
To actually complete the use case, right? Like, so for say a use case in the 12-month roadmap, right now it's just labeled in Notion as low, medium, high, and it's based on a bunch of assumptions. Let's say you want to just ensure before you start this roadmap that it is a highly accurate timeline that has been scoped out properly. What would you do to make this even more accurate?
Yeah, honestly, I would just continue down the rabbit hole. And it's funny, that's one of our core principles at the company is go down the rabbit hole. I would open up another Claude Code instance and I would say, hey, spin up a sub-agent for each of the recommendations in this database and create a specific project plan for each one. So basically I would have it go in here. These are the projects, and I would have it open up each one of these pages and put a project plan inside the document for each and every one. And then I would go through and scrutinize each of those. And then if that required more scrutiny, I would try and uncover more detail. And if it required a question from anyone on the team, I would go do that. But Claude Code is your partner in doing this if you're doing this yourself.
Love it. So just to close it out, can you just recap kind of where we started and where we ended and why this is so powerful for companies or leaders to execute within their business?
Yeah. So step one, you need to have buy-in. You need to know that there's somewhere to go, right? Step two, we have the survey that we walk through. We can send it out afterwards or put it on YouTube when we post this. Step three is interviewing people. And in interviewing people, start by getting them to open up and feel comfortable with the fact that you're going to ask them a bunch of questions, and then dive in incredibly deeply into their day to day. Ask them from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed, what do you do? Have them share their screen and go really deep and take notes on all those things. Then if you're doing this yourself, upload all these things to a file system and open up Claude Code and have it work through recommendations with you. Upload those recommendations to Notion or whatever tool you're using, and then have it write a document with the other sections of the doc that we wrote, which include things like, what happened here? Which include abstract. We did an executive summary, company background, company goals, and really anything else that matters to the decision maker at your company. And if you're the decision maker, whatever matters to you.
Amazing. So this is the process. And again, obviously there are things we do with more rigor or running things by our engineers at 10X, but this is really the bones of the end-to-end process that we run at 10X. We're going to end up posting this online on YouTube with the survey that we run and anything else that we think is helpful for you to run this in your company. But if you do want help in this process, again, we do these audits and these roadmaps complimentary. So just go to 10x.co/get-started. It's in the chat, and we'd be happy to help as many companies as we can. But this is super valuable for building up credibility and acting as the champion for transformation in your business. So Arman, thank you for walking us through it. Thank you everyone for joining. And as always, appreciate you watching Human in the Loop. And we will be back next week. And hopefully I'll have a new laptop. Thanks everyone. Take it easy.